All right, hello and welcome to NAU's School of Hotel Restaurant Management Kitchen. I'm going to show you real quickly how to do one version of 8-way chicken. There are many ways to break down a chicken, so this is just one way, and I'm going to really kind of emphasize some of the key areas that I think as students you need to be thinking about as you're doing this. So the first one is safety. You want to make sure your system is set up for how you're going to break this down. Then you want to dry the chicken off so it doesn't slide around on your board very much. Okay, so I'm just patting it dry. After you get the chicken washed and dry, what you want to do is orient yourself. Okay, so one thing I do with the students, they think this is kind of funny, but actually you like to stand the bird up so you can actually realize that this at one point was a living animal. So that does help you kind of orient yourself. Sometimes I'll see students trying to cut through the back side, though thinking this is the breast side. But if you just kind of step back a little bit and look at the bird, you're going to see that this is how the animal would have been standing. So you can naturally now see that this is where the breast is. So what you want to do to start is have the bird on its back with the legs towards you. So now we have the wingtips, the wings, and the drumettes up top, our breasts right here, and our thighs and drumsticks facing towards you. And the first thing I'm going to do is something called safety cuts. And so there's a little bit of skin between the drumstick and the thigh. I'm just going to cut through that skin and expose the thigh. Then I'm going to take what we have as our femur bone, I'm going to take that and snap these back. Okay? And what that's going to do is give us a nice flat perch to work on. Okay? Next thing I'm going to do is remove any excess fat from the rear. So we're just going to take that off. And that you could render this down and make, for fat, certainly use that. I'm also going to take off the tail section here. Okay, this piece right here has some scent glands in it, so you don't really want to add that into your stock because it'll add a bitterness to there. So I always remove that. Once you're back there and you've got the femurs snapped back, you've removed the fat and the tail, then you can turn it around 180 degrees, and we're going to start removing some of the joints. So for each of the joints, they're ball and socket joints. They sit in like this, and they articulate. What you want to do, the way I teach this is you want to first expose the joint, then you want to snap through it, and then cut through it. And I think that's a really good way to start. Once you get into this for years and years, you won't even need to do that, but it's a great way to get you to see what's going on. So if I can demo this, this is the wingtip here, and it's attached to the wing with a ball and socket joint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to make a cut right by the joint, and then I'm going to hyperextend, and then I can really see the ball and socket right there. Okay? Then I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut right through it. Okay? So these are wingtips, and these are fantastic for stocks. So make sure you save those. Next thing I'm going to do is the same thing on the other side. I'm going to expose the joint. I'm going to hyperextend. I can really now see what I'm doing in there, and that'll help you down the road when you're doing this a lot faster. So I have now something for stock here. I have the wingtips. The next, I'm going to remove the wings. Same thing. I'm going to find where the joint is. I'm going to expose it with a cut. I'm going to hyperextend. And you can see it just separates right. Here's the ball and there's the socket right there. So I know I'm going to cut right in between there. Okay, now we have wings. Same thing on the other side. Expose the joint, hyperextend, see what I'm doing, and then you can get in there. Once you do this a number of times, you won't need to do all this, but the step of seeing where the joint is, exposing it, and then cutting through will get your mind around how to do that much more easily in the future. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this now another 180 degrees, and I'm going to remove the breasts with the drumette attached. We call this an airline breast or a Statler breast. And it kind of looks like, I have kind of with my hand here being the breast and this being the drumette. It looks like that. So I'm going to do it in a way where I can sell skin on with the drumette attached. And the first thing I'm going to do is find this manubrium, or the chest bone right here, and I'm going to cut on either side of it. Again, I'm not going deep here. I'm just going to get the skin back so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to find it. There it is. There's the keel bone. I'm going to go all the way down. I'm just going to use the tip of my blade and go down all the way to the back. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Okay, so here, now I've exposed the keel bone. You can see it right here. And then I'm going to also, once I have this exposed, I notice that there is a wishbone right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is first remove that wishbone. I'll show you how to do that. So once I find the keel bone, I'm going to go in, and the wishbone is kind of like our collarbone. Okay, so it sits in here just like this. All right, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to make a small incision on the interior side of this bone so that I can remove it super easy. There's one, there's the other. I'm going to stick my fingers in here and go all the way up to the top, pull it down, and the wishbone will come straight out. Okay, so there's your wishbone. You can add that in your stock, right? And then that'll just go in there and you can extract a little bit of flavor out of there. But the reason why we want to remove that now is it gives us access to more of the breast meat, which translates into more money into your pockets. So that's why we want to remove that now. Also, imagine if this was left in there. I'm just going to break it. This is a super sharp bone. Okay, so if this was left inside the breast unknowingly and someone bit down on it, it can go right up in your soft palate. So it's another good reason for safety to remove that at that point. Okay, so now we're going to continue with removing the breast. I'm going to just be making shallow cuts. I'm going to follow the rib cage all the way down. Okay, until I see the joint where the drumette is still attached. This is another critical control point. Sometimes students will have this tucked back in here and they'll remove the breast without the drumette attached. So here you want to pause, lift the breast up, pull that drumette out, and then you want to find where that joint is and you can cut right through it, similar to how we did the wingtips. Okay, so I'm going to expose to where that joint is, make sure my drumette is out, and then I'm going to cut right through that joint, and then it comes right out. There's my Statler breast. Okay, so there's one Statler breast. I'm going to go ahead and go on the other side. Another critical control point, a lot of times students will cut straight down and they'll leave a lot of excess meat here. But this keel bone stops right here. So you want to come in and grab all that meat, make sure you sell it, right? The point isn't to leave the meat on the chicken, it's to sell it. So we're going to cut down there, and you can see it stops right here. And I have all this meat being sold with that breast. So I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side. I'm going to carefully, with shallow cuts, follow that rib cage all the way down. Okay. Go slow. And here I'm following this bone right here, the humerus, all the way down to where the joint is. I can see the joint now. It's right here. Okay. My pause point, I'm going to pull out the drumette to make sure I sell the drumette with the breast. And I'm going to cut right through that joint. Okay. And there's my second Statler breast. Okay. And you can trim these up later. So there's our little chicken heart right there. We have our stuff for stock. We have waist. We have wings. Okay. Now here, what you want to do, once you remove all the breast off of the rib cage, you're going to turn this over. Okay. So now it's on its stomach. and you're going to pick up the drum stick and you're going to lift it up, and you can actually see what we call the oyster muscle right here. It actually kind of flexes a little bit. It looks like a little mosquito bite. It sits on either side of the spine. So if you just find the spine, you'll see these little bumps on either side, right above the thigh. You want to make sure to get that out with your cut. So the way to do that is you identify where the oyster muscle is. You're going to cut right in front of it, not too deep. A lot of students will cut way too deep in there. Then you're going to use your thumb and you're going to scoop the oyster muscle out of the bony pocket. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm just going to go in and pop it out, which I just did. And you can see here, there's the oyster muscle right here. And here's that bony pocket that it sits in. Okay? So this muscle sits right inside there. It is one of the most delicious pieces of the chicken. Once you have that exposed, you're just going to come under and go all the way out like that. Okay? So here I have the drumstick and the thigh with the oyster muscle attached. Same thing on the other side. You want to orient yourself. Take the drumstick, lift it up, find out where that oyster muscle articulates. I see it right here. Okay, I'm going to cut right in front of it just a little bit. I'm take my thumb, I'm going to scoop the oyster muscle out of the bony pocket. Okay, there's the bony pocket, there's the oyster muscle. Once you have that exposed, you can then go underneath and cut it all out. Okay. Now this is great. You could cut this up further for smaller for stock, but that carcass then would be left for stock. Okay. The next part that you're going to do is it's really fun and easy to do once you see how to do it. So you're going to notice the drumstick and the thigh. There is a line of fat that separates the two that'll help you be able to separate them super easy. So it's right here. It's this line of fat right here. You're going to cut on the drumstick side of that fat, and it'll go right through the joint every time. Okay? So here again, here's that line of fat. I cut on the drumstick side, and here you can kind of see that I cut through the joint right there. All right? Then you have your drumstick and thigh with the oyster muscle attached. Keep the skin on, because this is great for teaching how to braise or saute properly. Okay, same thing on this side. I'm going to find that line of fat. I'm going to cut just on the drumstick side of it, and I have a drumstick and my beautiful thigh with the oyster muscle attached. So there you have one way to do 8-way chicken. Safety first, right? Wash the bird, dry it properly, do your safety cuts so you have a nice platform. Remove the wishbone, and then start removing the breasts, and then with the wingette attached, and then you can flip it over and do the thigh-leg combo, and then break that apart. So this is one way. What you're going to have left is you'll have waist, you'll have bones for stock, you'll have wings, you'll have Statler breasts, thighs with the oyster muscle attached, and drumsticks. So I hope that was helpful for you, and I hope you're all doing well. Take care. Bye-bye.